The first thing I'd actually like to do, I'd like to acknowledge our team at 1Berkshire. Yeah, how about, we give a round of applause. But this is a great group that balances a lot of expectations, and a lot of times they do it with limited resources. This is a group that collectively is inspiring to come into work and work with every day. I think that one of the greatest professional privileges I've had is to work with this team every day. And the creativity and the passion for the region that this group brings to the membership of our organization is, in my opinion, one of the strongest parts of what we do. We actually require, when we hire people, that we can dig out what they're passionate about in the Berkshires, and they pass that litmus test. But quite frankly, with the group we have now, it doesn't take much digging. It's a great group, so I just wanted to acknowledge all that you do, pulling together this program tonight, and all the things that we're looking forward to doing in the next year. So as an organization, as we've continued to evolve, our merger was actually 4 years ago, so it's been quite a while. We've matured quite a lot, but I'd like to talk about our income for a second. In FY19, the income for 1Berkshire was about $1.88 million, and that's continued to be on the increase every year. We've been increasing several percentage points a year in revenue we're bringing in. That revenue that we bring in at 1Berkshire is actually a combination of a few different pools. As I said at the beginning of our presentation tonight, we are a membership organization, and membership makes up a big part of what we do. Over $450,000 in our revenue comes in through membership dues, so every one of those checks counts. From the small business on the corner with 1 or 2 employees to the General Dynamics and the Berkshire banks and the Guardian Life Insurances of the Berkshires. All businesses that support our organization play a key role in that. We bring in about $137,000 a year through what we call our investors. Our investors at 1Berkshire are the organizations that actually go above and beyond their membership dues, and they make additional contributions. And that's actually the backbone of funding that we have that supports the economic development work we do, and that which is critical. Projects like the Berkshire Blueprint. We still do a pretty heavy event footprint at 1Berkshire. I'll talk a little bit more about that later on in the program, but nearly $100,000 in revenue comes into our organization from the events like this one tonight that we're hosting here. The part of our organization that continues to increase the fastest in terms of revenue is our programs, with over $750,000 in the prior fiscal year. And that's actually, and by programs, what we're talking about is things like our Guide to the Berkshires, with over 100,000 copies going out into print every year, and all those ad sales that go with it. Our lower brochure that goes out earlier on in the season to try to start drawing the attention of the visitor community. Both of our websites, berkshires.org and our local portal, 1berkshire.com, and the ad revenue that comes in through those. In addition to that, it's the cooperative campaigns that we do, that a lot of the different players participate to get ad placements in Boston and New York City. And then beyond that, even on the economic development side, programs like the jobs thing have become a major revenue generator for us that we can then reinvest into things like recruitment of talent to the region. We do get a little bit of grant funding. I should say we get a lot of grant funding, $372,000 in FY19 to be exact. Thank you, Representative Tricia Farley-Bouvier and the Berkshire delegation for your steadfast support. That comes in through 2 ways. As the Regional Tourism Council, we get a pretty significant portion of that funding to market the Berkshires, and then also as the state-designated economic development organization. And then lastly, about $80,000 comes in through different things like the contracted services we perform for different projects and initiatives throughout the region. And the reason why I wanted to highlight this and pull it apart a little bit is when we imagined 1Berkshire, bringing together 4 different organizations to be one, money was a concern. And it's always a concern when you go through ambitious mergers and things like that. But after 4 years, what we've found is we've continued to diversify the way money comes into our organization, which has allowed us to be much less risk averse with taking on new projects and initiatives. And it's allowed us to take some chances, to test some things, because we can depend on different pools of money to leverage what we're doing. I'd like to take a few minutes and just talk about each of our individual teams at 1Berkshire. We really work out of 4 different teams, which is our member services team, our marketing team, our economic development team, and then what we call our business office that processes all those member transactions. Our member services team is responsible for nearly 1,000 active members. And I will highlight with nearly 1,000 active members, in FY19, we actually had over 100 new members join 1Berkshire. There's always a little turnover with retention in an organization like us. It averages between about 10 and 20% a year, but with over 100 new members last year, we were really excited. That's the biggest injection of new membership that we've had in many years. Our member services team is responsible for our events. If you include things like all the programs that the Youth Leadership Program put together throughout their annual slate, the weekly sessions of the Berkshire Leadership Program, which have dozens and dozens of people at them, combined with our larger events like this, or Celebrate the Berkshires, the Fall Foliage Parade, our Good News Business Salutes, we do over 40 events, and those events had over 1,500 attendees at them in FY19. And then I also just want to note that this team's responsible for our Berkshire Leadership Program, which just finished its 21st cohort, now has over 700 alums, and is going strong into the 22nd class and heading into next year. And our Youth Leadership Program, which is currently taking 30 high school juniors through. I believe it's the 11th class of the Youth Leadership Program, Ben? 10, okay, 10. But that program as well continues to mature and is really something that we're excited about at 1Berkshire. Switching gears a little bit to our economic development work. One of the things that we've always done, even pre-merger, was we often say that we're the place that people can start. A person with an idea, a small business owner with a challenge, someone with an entrepreneurial niche. And we still do a tremendous amount of that. This year we held over 250 plus consultations with those types of individuals, coming in with ideas and energy, looking for guidance and referrals. Our entrepreneurial meetups that we host monthly are one of the ways that we engage that audience. And all of that work that we've done over the years in the entrepreneurial ecosystem has made us very exciting about the addition of E4All Berkshire County. I know we have Deb Gallant, the executive director here, Deborah. Peter Taylor's here, who was one of the folks that really spearheaded E4All. But we're very excited at 1Berkshire, through our economic development work, to be one of the funders and major partners for E4All. We think it's going to make a real difference in the Berkshires. The jobs thing has been 1Berkshire's specific programmatic response to one of the biggest challenges we're facing in our economy, and that's workforce. Half of that problem is how we're producing our own pipeline of workforce, and the other half is how are we filling jobs that we can't fill out of our own pipeline of workforce, folks that we're recruiting into the region. And our Tool the Jobs thing that we launched is actually really the only job site in the Berkshires that exclusively promotes jobs in the Berkshires outside the Berkshires to an external audience. Those jobs have to pay $40,000 a year, they have to be full-time, and they have to be located in our region. And through the first year of the jobs thing, we had over 200 jobs filled. Using digital retargeting through Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn, there were over 2 million impressions made of jobs in the Berkshires in front of different users outside the region. And that tool continues to grow. So for those of you out there that are struggling to fill positions, give Ben Lamb and Kevin Pink in our office a call. They can give you details about the jobs thing. You can participate as a sponsor, or you can participate simply by purchasing individual job ads. I'm going to talk a little bit more about the Berkshire Blueprint on a successor slide, but that obviously has been a huge part of the work that we've done. When we put together the structure for our economic development team a couple of years ago, the idea was we're undertaking this mammoth project, the Berkshire Blueprint, and we do not want this project to just be something that sits on a shelf. This has to be an active, in-motion, progressive initiative, and our staff at 1Berkshire works on this project every day. It really kind of fuels and programs our thinking. It sets our priorities. And connected to that is what our Economic Development Director, Ben Lamb, very eloquently refers to as the connective tissue role of 1Berkshire. And the idea there is, as a regional economic development organization, it isn't all about how can we respond to every problem, but it's about how can we use plans like the Berkshire Blueprint to identify partner organizations that are doing aligned work, and then how can we support those organizations? So we've built strong partnerships with organizations like Milltown Capital, like Lever, the Berkshire Innovation Center. We've been funding programs of other organizations. With the Berkshire Blueprint, we're launching the Berkshire Blueprint Partnership Fund, which is going to enable us to supply funding for more Blueprint-connected initiatives. And that's all in the spirit of this connective tissue work that we think is so important for us to be effective as an organization. And then lastly, with the economic development team, we also started a new initiative this year, which were site visits. We did one at Crane & Company Stationery in North Adams, and we did one here at Shakespeare & Co. to talk about their RFP process. But what we've done with those initiatives is we've brought together groups of stakeholders, the delegations, business leaders, higher ed, media, and we've helped tell the story of what's happening and then get some, really get some PR and some attention brought upon some of these initiatives happening. And we're going to be doing more of those in the next year. So if you think you're a good potential candidate to host one of those, let us know. We can take a look at it.
I'll just say it was really, really helpful for us. It really was. It helped get the word out. We got the elected officials to really understand what we were trying to go for. So I just want to say thank you for that.
Thank you. And it's amazing what can come out of, crashing together 30 people from different disciplines around a specific issue. Very specific opportunity, a very specific opportunity for growth, and then just kind of getting those conversations started. So there's a lot that can happen organically, and we want to continue to encourage it. Shifting gears to marketing. We're a marketing organization. That's bread and butter for 1Berkshire. Everything we do, even in the membership side and on the economic development side, is marketing. So really everything we do is programmed through that vantage point. We're pretty excited with the progress we're making marketing in this region. We continue to see growth in the visitor economy, and these metrics that we have up here are all focused around our external marketing. In the last year, our PR impressions exceeded $50 million. This is work that we do through a PR firm, Houston Media, and a couple other partners that we work with. But these are all those impressions, and for those of you that aren't familiar with that from marketing terminology, impressions are all the times that Berkshire shows up in print media and publications around the country and internationally. And this number, over 50 million, are all impressions that are either directly or indirectly through our partners connected back to our work at 1Berkshire. And we're pretty excited about that number of 50,000 plus. The second number, 50 million plus. The second number, 29 million plus, we're even more excited about. This is that digital retargeting approach to marketing, where we get really good bang for our buck. And this number of 29 million actually doubled from just over 15 million last year, and we did it with the same budget. And how does that happen? That happens by marketing more intelligently. So through Facebook and Instagram, we're able to better understand our target markets and what our users respond to with clickbacks to our sites. And in this particular instance, we've actually gotten to the point with our digital retargeting where we have a very high response rate and we're able to leverage our resources a lot further. In terms of the third number, 6,760,000, these are just the organic impressions made through our own websites, berkshires.org. And then the last piece that I wanted to point to was the 16 plus million page views on berkshires.org. That number has almost doubled since about 2016. It actually went up about 600,000 this current year. And again, we connect that back to that digital work, which directly links people back to our websites and gets them in front of your businesses, planning their agendas with our members, and doing things here in the region. So really in marketing, I think it's been an evolution. We focus on our target demographics in Boston and New York, but as we've been able to kind of jump from, we still do print, but as we've been able to jump from print to a much better bang for our buck with digital marketing, we're really seeing a return on investment. And then in terms of internal marketing, just the branding of 1Berkshire.com, through tools of the jobs thing, which drive traffic directly back to 1Berkshire.com, we've actually doubled the traffic on 1Berkshire.com in the last calendar year, which is encouraging as well. So looking ahead to 2020, how am I doing on time? All right?
We have about an hour left.
Hour? Sweet. I can probably do 50 minutes. So how many in the room are familiar with the Berkshire Flyer? Hands up. All right. That's better than it would have been a year ago. So the Berkshire Flyer is, just really quickly, is an important initiative that we're very excited to know is going to be moving forward in 2020. And this is basically a pilot project, which is going to be a train ride that runs between June and Columbus Day weekend, bringing passenger service back to the Berkshires from Penn Station in New York to Pittsfield. It's one trip a week, leaving on Fridays, returning on Sundays. It's being supported by our delegation and by the Commonwealth of Massachusetts, and it's been about a 3-year process to get to where we are. 1Berkshire's been one of the coalition partners on the Berkshire Flyer from day one, along with stakeholders like the Berkshire delegation, Senator Hines' office, Berkshire Regional Planning Commission, the Berkshire Regional Transit Authority. And at this point in time, one of the roles that we're excited about is we're actually being funded as the marketing partner for the Berkshire Flyer. So we received a $100,000 earmark to basically market the flyer. In a previous earmark from FY18, we actually did a branding study. We worked with a firm out of East Hampton called Brigade, where we came up with, you'll see the Berkshire Flyer bug there on the Amtrak train, and what it would look like on an app or in print. And that was a whole market study where we identified that the target audience to ride a train from New York City is most likely to be younger Gen Xers and millennials, because many of them don't have vehicles. Many of them are looking for rail transportation, and they're going to be responsive to this opportunity of a different way to access the Berkshires. So with this pool of money, and this is kind of, we can geek out a little bit marketing-wise, this is exciting. We're going to get to spend, we get $100,000 to test a bunch of new markets in New York City. We do spend more of our resources as a marketing organization focused on kind of the baby boomer age generation, which comes to the Berkshires in big numbers. They're still about 50% of our visitors, but this is going to be a project targeted towards that younger audience, seeing how they respond to some different ad campaigns. This will be heavy on, again, we'll do PR, trying to get a lot of publication placement on the Berkshire Flyer. We'll utilize social media, we'll utilize digital retargeting. But this will be a fun project. It's exciting enough to have rail access connecting New York City to the Berkshires for the first time in a generation and a half, but to be able to have a pool of money where we can actually test some new things that we'll learn from that will then inform our more broad marketing of the Berkshires to a market that we're eventually going to have to connect with in a more broad way is exciting. So the Berkshire Blueprint. I don't want to go too deep on this because obviously we already heard a little bit through our speakers who I want to thank for really their ambassadorship of the Blueprint. This was a regional initiative that 1Berkshire convened, but it's owned by the Berkshires. This is meant to be our economic development strategy for the region, which cites our agenda and key priorities via challenges and action steps identified on the report. And this is meant to be owned by everybody. This is a collective impact effort. We'll continue working on this on a daily basis at 1Berkshire, but I did want to give you a couple of highlights since we launched the Berkshire Blueprint last February. So at the launch event last February, over 300 people attended with a tremendous amount of energy at the Colonial Theater. We've distributed over 1,000 copies of the executive summary of the Berkshire Blueprint, and those have actually gone across statewide. We've even been excited to have a lot of outreach from some of our peer organizations wondering how we did this and how they can replicate the process, so that's always kind of a nice stamp of approval. It's led to over $1 million in grant applications coming from organizations around the region where they have acknowledged the Berkshire Blueprint as the connective tissue piece that connects their grant applications with part of our regional strategy. And that's important. I'm sure Representative Farley-Bouvier can speak to that. When you're asking for money from the state, the first thing they want to know is, what does this connect back to? And the Berkshire Blueprint created a specific agenda that connects lots of things back to what we need to be doing in the Berkshires. We've had great progress also in the first 9 months just in terms of the creative economy cluster and the food and agriculture cluster have already begun meeting as a group, and we've had some progress there towards those action steps identified in the plan. And we had our first summit. The steering group of the Berkshire Blueprint is going to meet twice a year in summit fashion, and we had one 2 weeks ago at Berkshire Money Management with about 50 participants. And one of our first takeaways from the Berkshire Blueprint Summit was we didn't talk about workforce housing enough. So that's exactly the idea behind the Blueprint is when you capture a moment in time, when you capture a moment in time, it's going to have a number of key issues that have to be addressed. But as we go 6 months out, and a year out, and 2 years out, and 5 years out, those things change. And that's why we've structured this whole process to be living and evolving. And as new things come about, we'll have the key folks at the table talking about them. Wrapping up, just a couple of other things. I do want to announce that she's been with us officially for about a month, but Christine Hoyt has joined us as our new Director of Member Services at 1Berkshire. Where's Christine? Christine had previous experience, with the chamber. She also has done a ton of work in the community, several years at Berkshire Community College, and we were fortunate to have Christine join our team. So we're excited for that addition. Just a couple tidbits on things we're going to be working on in the next few months. But our site selector, which is a long-term project we've been working on, there's some screenshots of it there in the presentation. But for businesses looking to expand into new space, for businesses that are looking to come to the Berkshires, wondering what space exists, we finally have our site selector up and active on our website. It's in kind of a beta version. There's a whole bunch of properties listed, but check it out. If you're coming from, if you're involved in development or local realty or a municipality and you're not engaged with it, check it out and connect with us, and we can get sites up in your community or for your, your different clients you might represent. But the whole idea behind the site selector is it's user friendly. It's kind of a crowdsourced database of property available for development in the Berkshires. We've kind of heard the call from our, I'm looking now more specifically at our tourism and hospitality members. You want more data. You want to know more of what's happening in season. We've heard that. We understand it. The metrics that we get through our participation with the state are typically a year behind, and we have to work off of what are essentially anecdotes and some trends that we observe. And we actually launched a new data project just in the past 3 or 4 months. And we're hopeful that by next season, as we get into May and June, we'll actually have a system in place for reporting from a number of our properties, whether it's outdoor recreation, it's hospitality, or it's the cultural institutions, where we can start to pay attention to performance metrics that can help us better inform our membership and the region about what we're seeing in season. That Berkshire podcast, which is a project we've been working on with the guys from Team Reset, who I think are all here, John Lewis, PJ, Devin, yeah. That's been a longer term project we've been working on in 2019, and you're gonna see the first That Berkshire podcast launched in the next 30 days. So we're excited about that. Pay attention, we'll be getting that out through our 1Berkshire channels, and that'll be an opportunity to hear from the folks in the Berkshires doing good things, how they do it, and what their experience is like. We're in the process right now of a redesign of Berkshires.org, which is our visitor portal. That site's been in its current state for about 6 or 7 years. It's time for a refresh. And as traffic continues to increase on the site, it needs a refresh. So that's a project we'll be focused on in the next year that will take up quite a bit of our capacity. We're going to be bringing back member e-blasts. Again, to our members, we hear you. It's a demand. We've had members ask, how can we promote what we're doing in a member-to-member e-blast on a monthly basis? So we're going to be bringing those back in 2020. And then the last piece is our economic development team, informed through their work on the jobs thing, has come up with this idea for an HR relocation resource guide, or you might call it a welcome packet. Physical welcome packets that we're putting together that employers that participate in the jobs thing are able to keep in-house and supply to new hires, specifically those from outside the area. And that'll have critical information for how those folks can get involved in the community, resources in the community, connect with local realtors, connect with other resource providers, and really just kind of get to know the Berkshires. Heading into 2020, we're excited at 1Berkshire. I think we're motivated at 1Berkshire. We're excited about the things that we're seeing in the region. You can't have lived through the blueprint process and come out of it without feeling encouraged. I think John captured that very well in his remarks, but that's how we feel at 1Berkshire. We know there's some substantial challenges that we still have to overcome and that we are working on in the Berkshires. Those aren't things that we can solve overnight. Those are generational challenges, but we're excited in our organization and for the work that we do in the Berkshires that the trends are heading in a direction where our foundation's getting stronger and our ability as a region to respond to those challenges is getting better and better. So hopefully with each year as we come to you with our report, that will continue to get brighter and brighter, and we'll be pointing to more positive things. But I want to thank all of you for, first off, for hanging with me for 20 minutes to go through all this information, but also just for your time tonight. And to wrap up the program, I'm going to invite our new Director of Member Services up, Christine Hoyt, with a couple of announcements. Christine's right here.
Thank you very much for the warm welcome, and in some cases people have said welcome back. But I am a new employee to a new organization, and I'm thrilled to be with 1Berkshire. So I just wanted to take a moment and thank a few of our sponsors this evening, thanking obviously our presenting sponsor, General Dynamics, for not only their sponsorship of this event, but really their sponsorship of a lot of programs at 1Berkshire and continuing to serve in our leadership circle investors. So thank you to General Dynamics. I want to thank our event underwriters, Greylock Federal Credit Union, but really I would like to take a moment to thank Shakespeare and Company. The team here has been wonderful all week, even with some challenges with snow. It has been a warm group to be working with, and we really appreciate your hospitality this evening. So thank you. We do have a sponsor for our marketplace bags. The bags are out by the door, so as you exit, please make sure that you grab a bag. There's some really great swag in there, so you don't want to leave without it. But thank you to Berkshire Bank for sponsoring that opportunity. And a thank you to our event supporters and contributors, Canyon Ranch, Hillcrest Educational Centers, Mahawi Tent, MCLA, and Smith Watson, who allow for us to have a wonderful evening here at Shakespeare and Company.